Documentary of the great soul, Mahatma Gandhi. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, more popularly known as Mahatma Gandhi, was an amazing man that became the father of India in the 1900s. We know he was a revolutionary leader who helped make India an independent country, but what was the rest of his life about? What was he like in his early years? What were his inner beliefs? Let us go deeper into the life of this far-fetched man and rediscover him as a person. First, let us start with a brief history of Gandhi's country. India was home to one of the earliest civilizations in the world, the Indus Valley Civilization. It came in around 3000 BC, more than 5,000 years ago. This very highly developed society had a written language, Sanskrit, and sophisticated water systems with baths and toilets inside the houses. One could say they were as developed as the Roman Empire had been, yet they were more than 2,000 years older. Then, in 1500 BC, new settlers called Aryans moved in from the north. The Aryans farmed, wrote Sanskrit, and also introduced the caste system. This system has 5 ranks. Highest to lowest, Brahmins, which are priests, Kshatriyas, which are soldiers, Vaishya, which are merchants, Shudra, which are workers, and Achut, which are untouchables. Alexander the Great's armies swept through India, but could not conquer the country. The first time India was brought together was under King Chandragupta Maurya, who founded the Maurya dynasty. When the Maurya dynasty ended, India was broken into bits and pieces again. Then Babur, a Muslim monarch, brought India together again by founding the Mughal Empire. His great-great-great-grandson Aurangzeb and his successors brought the empire to destruction again. The Mughal Empire and the Maurya dynasty were known as the Golden Ages of India. By this time, the British had already been tyranning around in India. They had first arrived when the Mughal Emperor, Jahangir, Babur's great-grandson, was ruling. They had originally come because of the money they would make from the spice market. But then they decided to conquer India. So in a way they had tricked the Indians. Let us go to the status of India when Gandhi was born. Mahatma Gandhi was born under British rule to Karamchand and Putliba Gandhi in Porbandar, Gujarat on October 2, 1869. He was born to a Hindu family. His father was Prime Minister of Rajkot. His grandfather and uncle had also been prime ministers. Although Gandhi had been with his father when he was on the brink of dying, he had been away when Karamchand died. Later, when his first son died at young age, Gandhi took this as a punishment for not being present at his father's death. Gandhi loved his mother very dearly, so he was depressed when she passed away. He was not present at her death either, but that was because he had gone to London for his studies. He only received the news when he finally returned from his education in England. Gandhi had many remarkable qualities even in his childhood. One of the many was honesty. When he misspelled the word kettle in high school, his teacher secretly prompted him to copy from another student's slate, or in other words, cheat. But Gandhi did not realize why the teacher was kicking him. Cheating was a completely foreign idea to him. Another example is that once Gandhi stole some gold from his brother, but then he wrote to his father asking for the biggest punishment, and he knew his father was quick to get angry, but his father only cried, and it was a lesson Gandhi never forgot. Gandhi entered high school at the age of 12. He quickly found out that geometry and Sanskrit were the hardest subjects for him. He even snuck into the Persian class, hearing that it was much easier than Sanskrit. His Sanskrit teacher was appalled that Gandhi did not want to learn the language of his own religion, and convinced him to give it another try. Later in life, Gandhi mastered Hindi, Gujarati, and English along with Sanskrit. Gandhi made a few good friends at high school, one of which was a strong, healthy, and athletic boy named Sheikh Mehtab. Now eating meat was a great taboo for Gandhi's family. But when Sheikh, who ate meat, convinced him by telling him good things about eating meat, Gandhi finally gave in. Soon he realized that he had broken the family belief and had lied to the family under pressure. He was very sorry and vowed to never eat meat in his life. Gandhi's brother and cousin, both of whom were not far apart from him in age, were to be married, and so was Gandhi. But age 13 is a very young age to marry. Still, it would be less expensive, so all three of the weddings were to take place together. He was married to a woman called Kasturba, who assumed to become one of his many devoted followers. Later it became time for Gandhi to choose a job and go to college. In India, you had to choose what job you were going to do and then go to the college for that job. Gandhi's family hoped he would become Prime Minister of Rajkot like his father was, but a family advisor recommended that Gandhi should go to England to become a barrister or lawyer instead. His mother felt uneasy about letting her son go because she was worried he would get influenced by their ways. To solve this matter, Gandhi took a vow before a monk that he would not touch wine, women, or meat in England, and he did not. Life was hard for Gandhi in England because of the vow he had made, as all the vegetarian foods were very bland compared to what he usually ate. Another thing that made it problematical was that although he had grown up with British ruling, he didn't have much association with them, so he started wasting his money on items that would help him fit in better, like taking dance classes. But then he realized that he was only going to live in England for a few years, not for his whole life, so he decided to start leading a simpler life, and he found out he actually enjoyed it. He also started learning more about his own beliefs, as well as other faiths. He read a book called A Plea for Vegetarianism by Henry Stephen Salt. Gandhi then joined the Vegetarian Society, which was also founded by Mr. Salt. Gandhi designed the logo later in life. He also became acquainted with a group called the Theosophists, who studied religions and tried to find a connection between them. Gandhi learned many things from them. Unfortunately, when Gandhi returned to India, he found out that his studies in England had not prepared him to practice law in India. In his first testimony, he ran out of the courtroom with shame after finding out how different it was. To avert this incident from happening again, he went to a household in Bombay where he could study Indian law. Then Gandhi's elder brother got into some legal trouble and was hoping to solve it with the help of a local political agent. The brother asked Gandhi if he would deliver the message on his behalf, as Gandhi had met this agent in England, and he had been friendly towards Gandhi. But when Gandhi asked the agent for the favor, he was physically thrown out of the room. Gandhi had no desire to meet this man again, yet he knew if he were to become a lawyer and go to the local court, he would have to see him. Gandhi was just getting very desperate about his future when all of a sudden an interesting offer came his way. Gandhi's desperation quickly turned into anticipation, for he had just received a job offer from a well-placed law firm which had a big case in South Africa. Gandhi had just had a child, so he would normally have been reluctant to go right now, but this was a very good offer, so he took the opportunity, even though it meant staying in South Africa for a year. When Gandhi's ship reached Durban, in the state of Natal, Abdullah Sheth, A representative of the law firm was there to welcome him. But as soon as Gandhi arrived, it was clear to him that Indians were subjugated. They were called coolies. When Gandhi entered the court, he could already sense the disapproval of the white Englishmen. The magistrate then asked him to remove his turban, and he got angry. Gandhi walked out of the court and afterwards wrote to the newspaper defending the wearing of turbans in court. It was the first of the many times Gandhi would use the press to promote his views.
After a short stay in Durban, Gandhi was sent to Pretoria to meet the law firm's other lawyers. He purchased a first-class ticket. When a white passenger boarded in first class, he was uncomfortable about sharing a compartment with an Indian, so he called the railway officials to deal with the matter. The officials told him to go to third class, but Gandhi argued that he had a first-class ticket, so they pushed him out of the train. Shivering in the cold, he contemplated whether to return miserably to India or to continue with his work. He decided to continue, but he took a vow that in doing so he would fight the unfair racism that was completely based on color, and only one color. Gandhi took another train to Pretoria, and then he booked a ticket to Johannesburg. His ticket got cancelled though, and he knew why. Only white passengers were on the coach. He finally reached Johannesburg by sitting on a box outside with the coachman. Gandhi stayed in Pretoria for a year, taught him lots of things about racism. Then it was time for him to return to India. But just at that time, a new racist law was published. This law would deprive Indians of the right to have a representative in the local government. It convinced Gandhi to stay in South Africa and fight for Indian rights. Then the Boer War took place. Gandhi supported the English, where he felt his duty was to the empire because he demanded the rights of an English citizen. He organized an all-Indian ambulance corps to tend the wounded in the Zulu Revolution, which we will explain later, and in the Boer War. Gandhi believed that people who performed their own tasks rather than depending on others for help would be more successful in life's challenges. He wanted to set an example for Indians in South Africa, so even though he had enough money for servants to do everything for him, he learned to wash and iron his own clothes and cut his own hair. When Gandhi's wife Kasturba gave birth to a third child, Ramdas, Gandhi assisted with the delivery. The whole family was expected to share in all of the household tasks. Kasturba was unhappy at having to do the work that untouchables would do back home in India, but in the end she agreed with her husband's principles. By 1901, he felt that his work in South Africa was finally finished. He wanted to return to India. The people agreed, but they made Gandhi promise that if they needed him, he would return. On the eve of his departure for India, friends showered him and Kasturba with gifts of gold and other such jewelry, but Gandhi did not keep any of them. He refused to accept any form of payment for public work. Kasturba felt that she deserved to keep one of the necklaces, for she wanted something to pass on to her children. Gandhi did not like materialistic gifts and would not accept, and Kasturba reluctantly understood. In 1902, Gandhi was called back to South Africa for a meeting with Joseph Chamberlain, the Secretary of State for the Colonies, who would be visiting from London. Sadly, the meeting was a failure. Chamberlain told the Indians that they should just try to get along with the Europeans in South Africa if they wished to live in their midst. Gandhi was disappointed, but he wasn't disheartened. He read a book in South Africa called Unto This Last by John Ruskin. Ruskin taught Gandhi the following principles from his book. The good of an individual is contained in the good of all. A lawyer's work is the same value as a barber's, as everybody has the same right of earning their livelihood from their work. A life of labor, the life of a handicraftsman, is a life worth living. True wealth does not lie in the amount of money one has. Richness comes from peace, not power. Inspired by Ruskin, Gandhi bought a farm outside Durban, South Africa. His place became the first spiritual community, or ashram, that Gandhi started. Soon, however, Gandhi's simple, peaceful life was interrupted by the 1906 Zulu Rebellion, a series of violent skirmishes between British authorities and native Zulu population. As in the Boer War, Gandhi had no bitter feelings towards the Zulus, but as a loyal subject of the British Empire, he again volunteered to form an Indian ambulance corps to help the wounded. However, once Gandhi arrived at the scene of the so-called rebellion, he found out there was no rebellion at all. The only problem was that a Zulu chief had advised his tribe against paying a new tax, and when the tax collector arrived, the chief killed him. The British had now set out to punish the Zulus for this. Gandhi sympathized with the plight of the Zulus. He was glad that the corps had been instructed to tend the Zulus. This incident made Gandhi ponder over all the principles guiding his life: nonviolence, truth, community service, and self-realization. Gandhi decided to take the vow of brahmacharya, the control of the senses and self-restraint from material and physical pleasures. He also pledged to nonviolence, or ahimsa. Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence was based on truth and firm devotion to a fair cause. His cousin Maganlal developed just the right name for this movement, Satyagraha. This word represented one of Gandhi's greatest qualities, honesty, because it meant firmness of truth. Finally, Gandhi decided that it was time to return to India permanently. When he returned, he went straight to his political mentor, Gopal Gokhale. Gokhale told Gandhi to take some time to reconnect with India. As Gandhi wanted to practice Satyagraha in India, Gandhi hoped to establish an ashram in Gujarat, but he decided to spend a year touring India first. During his tour, Gandhi met Rabindranath Tagore, the great Indian poet. It might have been possibly been Tagore who first called Gandhi Mahatma, which means great soul. Gandhi tried his new method Satyagraha when he tried to stop the Black Act, a new law which required all Indians to be fingerprinted and carry registered cards. There would also be taxes imposed, and Hindu marriages would not be recognized by the British government. In January 1908, many of Gandhi's followers were imprisoned for protesting against this law. Then General Smuts made a bargain with Gandhi that he would remove the law if the Indians would register voluntarily. When Gandhi went to register, his followers felt betrayed and brutally attacked Gandhi. Later, they were victims of a broken promise when General Smuts went back on his word, so Gandhi's good intentions were in vain. With the help of people from his South Africa ashram, Gandhi founded the Satyagraha ashram in Ahmedabad, Gujarat in May 1915. The main occupation in this ashram would be producing hand-woven cloth. Gandhi believed that all who wanted to join the community could join, but this was too much for the residents of higher caste. They could not bear drinking from the same water as untouchables. But Gandhi insisted. No one listened, though. This made the merchants who were raising money for the ashram stop doing so. Kasturba also protested, but Gandhi finally got his way, and miraculously an anonymous donor provided enough money to see the ashram through another year. In 1916, the Mahatma attended a meeting of the Indian National Congress. In the meeting, he was approached for help by a farmer who worked on an indigo plantation. He made his money by selling the indigo he grew at a fixed price. Since cheaper dyes had come out, the indigo industry had begun to wane. Now less people were buying the indigo, but the farmers were selling it at the same fixed price. So Gandhi went and talked to the Planters Association. The Mahatma was presented to the magistrate. He was charged for coming between the landlords and their tenants, but they dismissed him. Back in Ahmedabad, the workers in the textile mills were involved in a dispute with the owners of the mills. When a promise to the workers was not fulfilled, Gandhi fasted. Of course, the whole country was concerned for his health, and so the mill owners gave in. Fasting thus became an effective tool of Gandhi's satyagraha of peace. Then a new law passed in India, the Rowlatt Act. This law threatened the basic civil rights of anybody participating in political activity against the British government. Other Indian leaders joined Gandhi in opposing the Rowlatt Act. Gandhi suggested holding a strike to protest the passage of the Rowlatt Act on March 30th, 1919. The strike would be a peaceful one with prayer and fasting. No one would work or go to school. But then Gandhi postponed the strike to April 6, 1919. Unfortunately, New Delhi did not hear about the postponement. A peaceful protest began here on March 30th. Later, after the strike did start, Gandhi found that it was causing too many riots, so he canceled the strike. But word of the cancellation came too late for the town of Amritsar in the state of Punjab. There, General Reginald Dyer took control of the city and proclaimed it unlawful to hold public meetings. On April 13th, thousands of Indians, many of whom were unaware of Dyer's order, gathered in Jallianwala Bagh, the main square, to peacefully protest. Dyer thought that his authority was being challenged. He headed for Jallianwala Bagh and without any warning shot the masses of Indians. Within no more than 10 minutes, more than 1,600 bullets killed 379 people and wounded 1,200. This incident made many Indians who once thought of themselves as loyal subjects to the empire change their hearts forever. Deeper revolution. For a long time, India had been at the mercy of British textile mills for cloth, but India had its own cotton spinning and cotton weaving traditions. If people learned to weave and spin again, they would not have to get cloth from the British. Gandhi and his followers began burning their British and other foreign cloths and only wearing Indian cloth. Gandhi tried to start peaceful protests, but many of them ended up in riots between British officials and the Indians. Finally, the British felt that they could put Gandhi behind bars without bloodshed. Gandhi pleaded guilty and told the court that he should have known the consequences of every one of his acts. The judge addressed Gandhi respectfully, but said that he had to do his job. He sentenced Gandhi to 6 years of prison, but then Gandhi suffered a disease in prison, and when he finally recovered, the British knew it would be wise to release him, for if he died in prison, it would surely provoke a huge riot. Meanwhile, Hindus and Muslims in India had grown apart. Gandhi fasted for 21 days because he knew that everybody cared for him, and he wanted to teach them a great lesson about tolerance. Even if it nearly killed him, his lesson was successful.
Ever since the time of the East India Company, British law had stated that production of salt by anyone other than the British was a great crime. This allowed the British to tax salt. Gandhi sent a letter to the Viceroy that taxing salt was a very cruel deed. The Viceroy sent back a negative reply, so Gandhi set out on a mission to produce salt with his followers, that later became famously known as the Dandi March. At dawn at April 6, 1930, Gandhi produced salt by filling brass pots with salt water, which then evaporated to leave salt behind. This simple act had broken the law. On May 4th, about midnight, Gandhi was awoken by the police, arrested, and taken to jail without a trial. So were many of Gandhi's followers who participated in the Dandi March. Gandhi decided to go to London to make further progress at the Second Roundtable Conference there. He visited King George V at Buckingham Palace. Everybody greeted him affectionately in London, even the mill workers who had lost their jobs when Gandhi decided to produce hand-woven cloth instead of buying cloth from the British. When Gandhi returned to India, he fasted, and everyone was concerned about his health again. Finally, the fast gave untouchables more optimism. So Gandhi took a sip of orange juice and finally broke the fast. The two nations, Britain and India, breathed a heavy sigh of relief. Gandhi did not like the caste system one bit, especially the untouchables. He felt that the people who were called untouchables should actually be on the same level as the merchants. After all, what was the difference between them except for the jobs? After the fast, the Mahatma founded a newspaper named Harijan, meaning children of God, which was the term he used for untouchables. He also asked upper-class people, in other words, merchants, soldiers, and monks, to change their way of thinking about untouchables. Because of his way of thinking, Gandhi was starting to become unpopular. A bomb was thrown at his procession of cars, but thankfully, his car was spared. Gandhi was unworried. Around this time, Gandhi discharged his work at the Indian National Congress and moved to the Sevagram ashram. When World War II took place, Gandhi's friends urged him to write a letter to Adolf Hitler, requesting him to think over the war again. The Mahatma wrote, "It is quite clear that you are today the one person in the world who can prevent a war which may reduce humanity to the savage state." He also said later, if there could ever be a justified war, in the name of and for humanity, war against Germany would be completely justified. But Hitler sent back a negative reply to Gandhi's letter. So Gandhi suggested to the Allies that Jews practice satyagraha and that the British let Hitler take over UK. He didn't seem to grasp the German dictator's frightening intentions. When the British went to war, they brought India with them, without consulting the Indian National Congress. Gandhi opposed India's involvement in the war at all costs. But his colleagues, Jawaharlal Nehru in particular, thought they might be able to make more gains towards India's independence. In addition to that, if the Japanese, who were part of the Axis team, Hitler's side, and were close to India, attacked India, India might need Britain's help to fight it off. The Congress wanted to make a deal with Britain. In return for India's participation in the war, Britain would grant India independence at the end of the war. But Prime Minister Winston Churchill would not hear of it. With the Japanese threat growing stronger, Churchill sent a representative known as Sir Stafford Cripps to India to make an offer. Cripps was a personal friend of Nehru's and sympathized with the Indian cause for independence. Cripps' offer to the Congress was that in exchange for India's participation in the war, India could have dominion status when the war ended. Additionally, India's provinces, princely states, and minorities could, if they desired to, have separate settlement agreements with the British and could withdraw from the British Commonwealth. Cripps' offer was unacceptable to Gandhi and the Congress. If his plan were put into action, India could be split into many parts. Each part could have its own government and act like a separate country. Congress could not accept a proposal that left India divided and feeble. There wasn't going to be any agreement. Gandhi had to make new plans to free India from British rule. He sent one of his followers to the current viceroy with a message. But the viceroy wouldn't reply, so Gandhi asked his followers to do or die for India. The slogan of Gandhi's new campaign was "Quit India." The British took this as a threat, and so Gandhi, along with some other main leaders, was immediately arrested. Back in England, Prime Minister Winston Churchill told the Viceroy to let Gandhi starve in prison if need be. But other British officials knew the dreadful consequences of Gandhi dying in British captivity. A terrible riot would break out. While Gandhi was in jail, his secretary, Mahadev Desai, died of a heart attack. Mahadev Desai was extremely loyal to the Mahatma and often read his mind. He also kept the press informed of Gandhi's thoughts and actions. Then Kasturba's, Gandhi's wife's, health started to decline. As she began to have diseases, doctors came to treat her with injections of penicillin. Gandhi prevented the doctors from giving Kasturba medicine through a needle because of his belief in natural medicine. On February 22, 1944, Kasturba died in Gandhi's arms. If Gandhi ever had any regret about his decision to suppress the medications, he never told anyone about it. Then Gandhi's own health started to fail, so he was released from his last term in jail. When Clement Attlee replaced Winston Churchill as Prime Minister of Britain, he made Lord Louis Mountbatten the last Viceroy. Mountbatten said that he would accept the position of Viceroy, but a definite date for India to be granted independence had to be set. The date was August 15, 1947. Mountbatten then succeeded in bringing all the leaders together except Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who wanted a separate Muslim nation whose ruler would be him. Gandhi could do nothing about it, and on August 15, 1947, his very dear land was divided into two countries. Gandhi had long anticipated the moment when the reign of the British would end, but he did not intend the celebration in New Delhi this day. Instead, he spent the day fasting and praying in Calcutta. Later, Gandhi visited places where the unity between Hindus and Muslims had dissolved and tried to reverse it. He even fasted for 5 days, but then people came to assure him that the unfriendliness would end. Gandhi hurried to his evening prayer meeting on January 30th, 1948. Many people tried to come forward to touch the feet of the man they worshipped, but one man forced his way past the others. As he kneeled towards the Mahatma, Nathuram Godse aimed a semi-automatic pistol at his heart and pulled back the trigger, uttering Hey Ram, meaning O God. The father of India fell back and passed into eternity. Even after his death, Gandhi inspired many people with his ideas. Martin Luther King Jr. was introduced to Gandhi's teachings while studying to be a minister. When a Satyagrahi incident took place, or an incident involving Satyagraha, Martin Luther King Jr. tried to use Gandhi's methods. Nelson Mandela was the leader of South Africa. He grew up in the country where Satyagraha first started, and Gandhi's legacy was still very strong there. He also used Gandhi's methods to bring independence to South Africa. And Gandhi didn't only inspire famous people, he also taught common people like us. So Gandhi will be remembered forever as an incredible man who brought independence to his country without having to hold a single weapon. As he once said, "My greatest weapon is mute prayer." Now we are going to sing you a song that was very dear to Gandhiji's heart. Raghupati Raghava Raja Rampati Pavan Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Bhaja Pyare Tu Sitaram Ishwar Allah Tere सबको सन्मति दे भगवान रघुपति राघव राजा राम पतित पावन सीताराम सीताराम जय सीताराम भज प्यारे तू सीताराम ईश्वर अल्लाह तेरा नाम सबको सन्मति दे भगवान. The end of an amazing life, the one and only Mahatma Gandhi.